I always forget to remove that thing. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Political Deep Dive this evening. Dave Valente, and joined this evening by Dan, the man Fishman.
What's up, Dave?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Now that your name is Dave Stradamus, I have to think of another prognosticator.
Danny the Greek.
That's not a bad one. I do know. Oh no, wait, that's not it. I know a good Quasimodo joke, but I don't know a good Nostradamus joke. But I can tell my Quasimodo joke very quickly.
Yes, do it.
You've probably heard it.
Okay.
So Quasimodo, the famous bell ringer at Notre Dame. After many years, he decides to retire, and the Archbishop of Notre Dame says, "All right, well, we'll have open postings. People can come in and ring the bells for us." And they come through, and a bunch of different people with musical talent ring the bells, and then one guy comes up, and he has no arms, and the bishop says to him, he says, "My son, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but with no arms, how are you going to ring the bells?" He said, "Well, let me show you, Your Grace." And he jumps up and he headbutts the first bell, dong, and it's the most pure tone the bishop has ever heard. He's like, "But won't that get painful? I mean, what if you have to do multiple bells?" And he jumps up, dong, 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 headbutts three. It's like, that's amazing. He's like, at noon, we play this special thing. He's like, "I'm very familiar with it, Your Grace. Let me demonstrate." And he jumps up, but he trips and he falls off the edge and he dies. And one of the priests runs up. He's like, Your Grace, do you know who that guy was?" He said, "I don't know who he was, but his face rings a bell."
I'm glad I swallowed before I did that one. Oh, my God.
So the next day, a guy comes by. And he says, "Oh, Your Grace, I heard that my brother died here terribly. He was a bell ringer. I was hoping that you would give me a chance. We had the same musical training." And he says, I guess so. Can you show me what you can do?" And so the guy gets up there and he starts pulling on the bells, and it's beautiful. He's playing them all. And the bishop says, "Well, I mean, you've got the job. I'm very happy to have it." He says, "Thank you, Your Grace. It means so much to me." He's like, can you show me the spot where my brother fell?" And he goes, "Well, it was right here." And he goes and he looks over and he loses balance and he falls off the edge and he dies. And the priest comes up. He's like, Your Grace, who was that?" He's like, I don't know, but he's a dead ringer for his brother."
Oh. Tell me this doesn't get worse.
That's it. That's the end. It really needs a third thing to complete it, but I don't have it yet.
No, not yet. Ken Molman says, "No."
Why? We should be showing those comments.
So for some reason, and I think it's because Facebook continues to auto set my privacy back to some weird privacy level, that anything that goes into my personal page does not show up on the comments. I don't know why.
That's weird.
I've set it several times to be just like completely public.
Yeah.
And it just resets for some reason. Daryl Perry said that belongs in the Libertarian Party Dad Joke Caucus. That's my favorite caucus.
Disagree with that. The Dad Joke Caucus is pretty good. I have a good collection. I worry that some of the jokes might be used for evil if we get them there. I don't know if you're familiar with the Monty Python sketch of the world's deadliest joke.
Oh God, no! That's actually what I haven't seen. So
essentially, they find out that there's a joke that's so funny that if you hear it, you'll die laughing. So they research ways to weaponize the joke, and so they train British soldiers to speak only parts of it in German, and then they run through the woods and they yell it out, and then the Germans start laughing and die. It's a very funny sketch. Humor is awesome.
Yes.
All right, man. What are we going to talk about? We got a lot of stuff this week.
Man, it's a lot to unpack this week. We'll start light. Let's start with the Summer Olympics just wrapped up today.
Yep.
And once again, the United States has emerged victorious in medal count and in gold medals. Although China claims the gold medals for Hong Kong and Taiwan, that would put them back over the top.
Well, what's interesting about it, though, is that if you were to look at gold medals by gender, the women crushed and the men did not come in first place.
Yes.
Which is it's an
I
interesting
think both. I think for both.
No,
our women,
we definitely took the most gold medals for women.
well, I mean, I would say that China's majority of I think about 70% of their gold medals came from women, and
Really?
yeah, the United States had a ton too. But yeah, looking at some of the things that in the past that we've crushed, like
soccer.
Yeah, soccer. Well, I mean, we didn't even have men's soccer team at the damn Olympics this time.
Right. We didn't qualify. Right. Yeah. Right. Our first team stayed home and won the Gold Cup.
We did win the Gold Cup, although it wasn't really our first team either in the Gold Cup, because it was all the European players like Pulisic and some of the German based players did not play in the Gold Cup either.
Which is weird because I don't know why they didn't play. Like why didn't Pulisic play?
Because they had played that with MLS. MLS is midseason, so this tournament is not adding any games onto their season. But the German and Pulisic and Italian-based players, they're in off season, so they played the Nations Cup, which they also won over Mexico. They beat Mexico in the Nations Cup, CONCACAF Cup. And the coach decided to give them the rest of the summer off.
Yeah, but that's still weird. Like, I mean, this is qualifying for the Olympics, so why would he give them the week off?
I don't know. I have no idea whether they.
I guess. I mean, it still worked. We still beat Mexico, but whatever it was, I'll take it. I will say that game was tremendously disappointing. I thought the United States played terribly, and I'm glad they won, but I don't feel like they earned it.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of the goal.
They had some flow of the play, but there were points where Mexico was dominating except for finishing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because China has been so so focused on winning the gold medal count. They led it pretty much from the first week on until we won the volleyball gold medal in women's last night, and we finally took the lead at the end.
Right, we have 39; they have 38.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Although, I mean, if they're going to claim Taiwan and Hong Kong, then I think that we should be able
Puerto Rico.
I was going to say Puerto Rico and also all former territories. So Cuba and the Philippines.
Yep. Manifest destiny, bitches.
Yeah. I've been watching shows recently about Americans living in the Philippines. And so English is really widely spoken in the Philippines. Like if you go into the malls or anything like that, all the signs are in English. Yeah, see, I'm looking at exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Also, fucking Russian Olympic Committee. That's just crazy. Yeah. They should have called him something else. Should have made him have like a name like so Letterman had a this is how long I was watching David Letterman, but he had a top 10 list of top 10 names for the reunified Germany. Already I'm cracking myself up remembering them. One of them was Kegerland, which I think is pretty good. Yeah. Another one was Nazi-Chew-Chew-Sits.
Oh, God.
But his number one choice for the name for the reunified Germany was Cindy.
Just Cindy.
The country name is Cindy.
I mean, there's a country named Chad, so I mean,
exactly. That's a very good point.
Let's see. Let's check out some obscure countries that won medals. One of my favorite countries to ever talk about won
Djibouti.
3 medals. I could not believe it. And that is where they at.
Say Djibouti.
No, Djibouti's awesome. I'm not gonna bag on that. But the most serene republic of San Marino.
Ooh. Yeah,
they won 3 medals.
They won a silver and 2 bronzes, huh?
That's impressive. I mean, because San Marino is about the size of a Rice Krispie.
Yep.
Surrounded by Italy. But they do have the best country name ever, which is the most serene Republic of San Marino.
Do you know what they medaled in?
I do not. Let me see if they if you click on a name, it tells you what they medaled. Where we go?
I'm going to guess it's like equestrian events or something like that.
Yeah, definitely not soccer. They're
2
all...
in shooting, 1 in wrestling.
All right. Well, congratulations to San Marino.
I agree. I especially like it when people win the shooting ones, because that's just like rock on, Second Amendment.
Yeah,
it's an Olympic sport.
That's right. Which is basically the only way you can have a gun in Australia is if you're, well, in Great Britain is if you're a shooter.
Japan. But, yeah. Well, no. So in Great Britain, you actually can own long guns for hunting pretty easily. Right, yeah. I mean, that's not super easy, but I mean, we're obviously the best, right?
Yeah.
Well, the best, except for places where, like, it's very lawless, like gun ownership in Colombia is pretty easily. Yeah.
Mali is easy, although they're old Soviet and old surplus Soviet, old surplus American weapons that we kept giving back and forth. Mali was passed back and forth between the Soviet Union and the United States.
I took a great class about the American policy or the Western policy of asymmetrical deterrence, which was that we would keep communism contained. Obviously, it's a very archaic idea. But what was interesting about it was that, they talked about the difference between the countries that were our allies was summed up in the difference between the M16 and the AK-47. The M16 is an unbelievable weapon, but it requires significant maintenance, daily cleaning, a lot of, esprit de corps in your troops. Whereas the AK, you can literally bury it underground, dig it up, and it will work. And that sort of summed up the difference between the countries that, were in the Russian hegemony and the American. But fortunately, all war is over. So,
well, that's not true.
It's not quite true.
Afghanistan is rapidly falling once again.
I watched a big thing on that today. That was pretty shocking how fast the Taliban are ramping up. And it's interesting because I wonder if, we'll go back and look at the tactics involved, but maybe the next time, obviously we don't want to occupy another country or anything like that, but hopefully we'll realize that there has to be a better intervention than just locking a country down for 20 years.
Just cover it in that rapidly expanding foam.
Well, there's a theory that, and this actually is what, you see people fight against. There's a theory that, wealthy people have too much to lose and therefore oppose war. And so if you want to pacify people, make them wealthy. And you can see in a lot of places, dictators keep their people poor, specifically to have that level of outrage. And so, obviously America did bring wealth into the area, but, the Taliban did a lot to keep that wealth contained, or to make it seem like it was a bad thing to have.
Sure. And, of course it's easy because they've for years been selling us as the great Satan, just like with the Iranians, just like with the Iraqis, just like throughout the Middle East, where, we're the great Satan that, wants to convert the entire land. It's a crusade that we're trying to convert the land to Christianity and throw, the godless moral, lack of morals that our current society has on the good people of Afghanistan or wherever they're bitching about. So, but it's it's not surprising. We would have gotten this result if we had bugged out of Afghanistan 15 years ago.
Oh yeah.
This is just How many trillions of dollars have we wasted on this war just to have the same result happen no matter when we left?
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I think that if there's an interesting, a couple interesting commentaries on this. One was, back in the days of the Contras, it had been suggested that if the United States had put $5 billion into Nicaragua in terms of building hospitals and schools and humanitarian relief, that it would have changed the way that we were viewed, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't seem to be. I'm obviously not in favor of any foreign intervention, but the military intervention has proven time and time again to not just be futile, but to actually embolden and empower our enemies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, like with Iran and Cuba, that all that the embargoes that we've done against these countries have done is impoverish the people, because those costs are always passed on to the people, not the government. And it's not just economics, but health, all that stuff is passed on to the people. They're the ones that suffer, and it doesn't embolden the people to take on their own government. It gives the government a reason to say, look at those asshole Americans. They're the reason why you don't have any health care. They're the reason why you don't have any food, why you got to queue in lines for hours to get a simple loaf of bread. We definitely need a rethink on our foreign policy when it comes to interventions and embargoes and all that stuff, because what they're doing right now isn't working. Like, I got somebody yelling at me for I said, hey, why don't we end the Cuban embargo? And they're like, well, we got to have the embargo on, or they're just going to get, the government's just going to get rich off of it. And it's like, well, we've had an embargo in Cuba for what, 50 years now?
I mean,
another couple days going to work.
Make the leaders rich, and you own them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we want. That's the best American foreign policy that we've ever had. I mean, again, I'm not thrilled with our relationship with Saudi Arabia, but we own them. I mean, they don't want to lose the American market. I will be drinking plum brandy, also known as Slivovica.
Nice.
Tonight it's 45, 90 proof. So I'm gonna have to pace myself.
I am drinking Diet Mountain Dew.
Diet Mountain Dew,
because I don't want to end up peeing on another building like I did in Norfolk.
Well, that's a fun story. I don't know how much of that you want to tell people, but
let's just say shrinking bladder. Yeah.
Yeah. I think at this point the statute of limitations has expired anyway.
I hope so.
I cut myself on some chicken wire yesterday. Actually, I was pretty happy that I had my glasses on, because it like went and went on.
Oh wow!
But I think if I were more vain, I would wear concealer beforehand. But I don't have any concealer.
Oh, that's all good. Chick stick scars.
That's totally true. See, I've got this great one that shows up here. That one, that's like my first libertarian scar. Because my mom had this big marble sewing table and a leather chair, giant leather back chair in front of it that was like her sewing chair. And I used to like get up on the edge of the chair, climb up to the top, and then slide down into the chair. She always told me not to do it. One day when I was, I don't know, it must have been 2. I was really young because my brother wasn't born yet. My mom got a phone call, and she's like, okay, be quiet. It's long distance. And I didn't know really anything what that meant, but I knew that if it was long distance, everybody had to be quiet, and the phone call was really important, so you couldn't get off the phone. So, so my mom's on the phone long distance, and so she can't do anything. So I start sliding down the back of the chair, like right in front of her, because I know she can't do anything. I'm like, woo, she's like pointing at me. And then I do it, woo, and I hit the bottom and my head goes forward. Whack. I cracked my head on the corner of the marble table. So I got this scar. And then I just remember my mother saying, I'm sorry, I've got to hang up. My son has just cracked his head open by disobeying my orders. So I've been a libertarian from the beginning, brother.
There you go. There you go. I got a couple of scars on my head, but Christmas Eve, I got pushed off of. We used to have this big, long, wooden, almost like a picnic table. It had benches instead of seats, and I must have been like 5 or so. I was being a jerk, and my sister pushed me off the seat, and my head hit a sewing machine, like the little bobber thing on top of the sewing machine.
Yeah.
Hit my head, and I bled like a stuffed pig. I mean, it just hit the right spot, and at first I thought my nose was bleeding. Like I went to my mom, my nose is bleeding. She's like, "It's not your nose." So I had to spend like Christmas Eve in the emergency room getting stitched up.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Another one here. I don't know if it's going to show up or not. Yeah, you can see it right above my eye there.
Yeah.
So that one, it was my senior year in high school, and I went to a boarding school. Me and a bunch of the guys are goofing around in the hall wrestling, and one of the, hey Emily, how's it going?
Nothing gets me more angry than a lagging computer. So I just joined on my phone. Hi.
I'm glad you did.
We're glad to see you.
We're trading scar stories.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
plenty of those.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to hearing them. So, but this one is my best scar story. Although now I want to do the Jaws thing. Marianne Moffat, she broke me heart. Sorry. So we're goofing around in the hall, and a friend of mine throws me against the wall. My glasses break, and they go and like dig into my face on both sides of my eye. And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, now I gotta go to class. And my friend is like, no, Dan, you're bleeding bad. And he like takes me to the bathroom, like blood is coming out. Because head wounds bleed.
Yeah.
So blood is coming out. And so he's like, we got to take you down to the nurse's station. So they take me down to the nurse's station. Nurse is like, here, hold this on your head to stop the bleeding. And so I'm like doing compression. And she's like, okay, I'm going to get somebody to drive you into the hospital. You got to get stitches for that. I'm like, okay, can I just go tell my teacher that I'm not going to be able to make it to class? She's like, yeah, go ahead. So I go walk down into my class. I'm like, hey, I just got this head wound. I have to go get stitches. Lawrence, can you get my history assignment for me? And Lawrence like, yeah. So I leave. I go back. Somebody drives me into the hospital. I get in there. They're like, okay, take that off your head. I take it off. And it's a maxi pad. I've been holding a maxi pad on my head, walking around the halls of high school so I'm cool. That's my scar story, my last scar story.
Awesome. So we've got some comments on Facebook. Now, if you guys want your comments displayed, you can either go to the Political Deep Dive group page or join us on YouTube, and I'll be able to see them online and post them. But thanks for joining in on my Facebook page. Let's see. We got Daryl Perry saying, speaking of Saudi Arabia, did you see the Saudi athlete got DQ'd for knocking out the Iranian in karate?
I did not see that.
So, karate was a new sport for the Olympics this time because, they usually allow like a local sport to be added to the roster. I was disappointed that no one's heart got pulled through their chest cavity.
Finish him!
Finish him! Yeah. Let's see. James Toller said, hey, everyone. Ken Ullman says, head wounds bleed like crazy. And Daryl said, tourniquet. So.
Yeah, a tourniquet on the head is always the good choice.
Yeah, so Olympics are done. We are less than a year away from the 22 games.
6 months away from the Winter Olympics in China.
Yeah, so of which they will have hockey, NHL hockey players playing in the Olympics, which I'm
Are
excited
they
about.
actually going to have it?
Well, we don't know. I mean,
Right.
maybe not. But
It's going to be in China.
there we go.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Ken.
Ken. Good job. Did you post the link in the other chat, Dave? Dave Stradamus?
Dave Stradamus. Let me try and find that.
All right, I'm going to change.
Go on without me.
All right.
Save yourselves.
Yeah. I will. I'll talk about that a little bit. So they are going to have the China wants to have the Olympics. It's unclear what people will do because, obviously COVID, Delta, all that stuff. Plus China has been less than forthcoming about their actual involvement in everything. However, they're planning on doing it. They're actually planning on using a lot of the same facilities that they had for that they used for the Summer Olympics not that long ago, the Bird's Nest and all that stuff. They showed that the pool where Michael Phelps won all those gold medals is now converted to the curling stadium. So what was the swim lanes is now for curling, which is awesome.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to actually be able to have them. I mean, if they could have these, I don't see why they can't have those as well. But what's the world's tolerance going to be at that point in time? I don't know.
Which variant will we be on at that point?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but usually illnesses tend to be worse in winter.
Right,
than
especially
summer.
the flu.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so I'm looking forward to what is this? Oh, sorry, that was
you're
old
looking
man.
forward to hopefully hockey and the Winter Olympics.
And curling, women's curling. Because
Yes.
dirty old man.
You're a dirty old man.
I'm a dirty old man. You should have. I'm glad people didn't have. There wasn't like a live stream of me watching the women's volleyball game last night. There was a woman on the Brazilian team that I'm not even sure that we're the same species. Like she was that hot. Like
Wait, what? How does Brazil have a curling team?
no, a women's volleyball team.
Oh, okay.
Gold medal game.
How does Brazil have a volleyball? No, I'm just kidding. That seems like that's their sport.
Yeah, that's their jam.
They do that other thing, right? The volleyball with your feet,
Yeah,
Joquita or something. I don't know what it's called, but Brazil's really
volleyball and soccer and beach volleyball and
yeah.
Foot stuff.
So I definitely think that I think they should try to do it. I mean, why lock up? The rest of the world's already in lockup. It's shown. We know that we can do events like this safely, so let's just do it. I mean, the right thing to do is have all the athletes get there like 2 weeks beforehand and then quarantine so that they don't have to worry about people bringing stuff in, blah 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 blah, all that stuff, and then maybe go to to Wuhan itself, see if they can find out what's actually going on. So we have some combination Olympic athletes / spies.
Crime fighting. Yeah,
Exactly. Crime fighting Olympic athletes. Couple of guys.
like a Saturday morning cartoon setup.
Actually, there's precedent for that. I believe during World War II, there were spies.
Interesting. Some who came over in the 36 Olympics.
Probably, yeah.
Interesting.
Let's see what else going on. Oh, I saw a news story on BBC today that they're starting a petition for the people in Sherwood Forest, the Sherwood Forest that Robin Hood
Yeah.
was in.
Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest, laughing back and forth. Sorry.
Well, this is a
Love
little
that
bit more interesting now because what is going on is that it's okay to walk through the woods naked in Sherwood Forest. It's not against the rules.
Sure.
And people are getting angry about it.
Druids and all that stuff.
As people want to do.
Yeah, so they've started a petition to ban naked forest walking in Sherwood Forest. And boo. Although, I mean, I understand like some people like a lot of them are women complaining because, it's like a group of about 12 dudes. And I get some people having some issue with it, but I think you can carve out. It's a big place. You can get, you can have many people do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean,
so over controlling people.
Yeah.
Like, just close your fucking eyes. Look the other way.
Turn
We're
around.
not traumatized by seeing a flaccid dick.
exactly. And more than that, don't let. I mean, it's easy for me to say. I recognize my privilege in this conversation, but don't let people mock you. I say go there, bring a camera, post things to the internet. Right?
I say that too.
All right.
I want to see some naked forest walking.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about chiggers. So
they prefer to be called chigros now.
Shut up.
Sorry. That was just too easy. Yeah, I don't think they would have an inside problem.
Canceled, Dan Fishman.
I've been let loose. I couldn't tell all these jokes when I worked for the LNC.
Sure.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, I can. I still throw jokes. So.
But I went to school in England for a year. I don't recall any issues with biting insects. I was up in the Northwest though, but I think that this really is a problem that just takes care of itself. People want to show up naked, walk around naked, take those pictures, post them on Facebook. Does anybody know who these people are who are ruining my walk? If they're totally down with it and they want to be out there, they won't care.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. This is the chat for the channel already. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Soccer. It's called football, man.
Yeah. So this is something that's worth talking about. So in Tokyo, the beds that were provided for the Olympic athletes, they had these cardboard mattresses that were like this thick. They're meant to be environmentally sound, so they could just recycle everything afterwards. But they're apparently incredibly uncomfortable. And, this is people know this. There's a lot of international sex going on at the Olympics, in the Olympic Village. I mean, that's just natural, right? I mean, these incredible athletes with their phenomenal bodies.
They're young, they're good looking. Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. People have been having sex in Volkswagen Beetles for ages. I mean, I don't think that's going to stop them.
No, for sure. Right. I mean, if you ask these athletes to perform incredible contortions, they're going to do it. But I don't think that was the point of the uncomfortable beds either. They were just stupid. So I don't know what the rationale was. But I think everybody's going to be happy to be home, and there's going to be a well, we'll see.
I know a lot of athletes already left. Like especially those that got done week one, they're already back in the States and doing their thing. But some of the teams that ended up on the last few days stuck around.
They usually they finish up with the big team events too. So it was the U.S. gold medal. I mean, traditionally the gold medal traditionally isn't the marathon the last event. I think the marathon, like the end of the marathon, they run into the stadium and then they do the closing ceremonies. But
I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
but U.S. men won the gold in basketball, which was pretty good.
And both men and women,
both men and women. Well, women I was pretty sure they were.
Although they lost 2 games going into the Olympics for the first time. They lost to the WNBA All Stars, and they lost to I think Australia.
Right. You would think that that they would. Right. They did lose a thing to Australia, but I was pretty confident they were going to win. But the men, I mean, that was a close run thing.
Yeah,
they were down 15 points in the
semis.
Yeah, in the semis against Australia. That was Australia.
And then they just turned it on and just beat the hell out of them. And then, last night watching the volleyball, like the U.S. has been to the gold medal game like 3 or 4 out of the last 5 Olympics and lost every time. And, usually it was to Brazil. And this time the American team just boat raced them. I mean, it was It was a straight set win. None of the sets were all that close, especially the last one. They ended up winning by like 10 or 12. It was a thorough ass beating by the women's team. So
was very impressive. Let me see, what other good Olympic events did I watch?
I watched a couple of the women's soccer games, and I understand why they lost. They looked listless the whole.
They did. They looked terrible, and it's too bad because they looked okay in the bronze game, but they didn't look like the teams that they've been in the past. Now that being said, I'm really shocked that Canada won. Like I thought Sweden was on a mission,
and Sweden looked much better in that entire game. Just like we were talking about. That Mexico looked better than the United States in the Gold Cup final. Sweden carried the play probably 70% of the time in that gold medal game.
I watched the highlights of it, and definitely. But I mean that is the fundamental flaw when in soccer. There's just no way around that. Is that
hate penalty shootouts?
Yeah, I mean it's just hard to make the ball go in. I think. Do you remember when they were talking about changing the rules in hockey to instead of having the shootout in the playoffs to reduce the number of men on the ice?
Yeah,
I thought that was a really good idea, and you could do that for soccer too.
Yeah,
you get down to the point where there's 4 people.
4 on 4.
Exactly. Pull the goalie. Or maybe that's what you do. Maybe that's the right thing is pull the goalie in the beginning. Nah, complicated.
Yeah,
we're not going to fix soccer right now.
No, you can't fix soccer.
Although I will recommend people who haven't seen it, the English Game on Netflix, about the invention of the modern soccer game prior to, I don't know what year it was. I want to say like 1850 or something.
There was an old British, almost like a soap opera called Dream Team. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
I think it's Sky Sports or British Sky was the one that produced it, but it was a very entertaining series. I really liked it.
This one in the British Game, it's the rise of the private clubs. And it used to be that the best teams, the Britain has this one tournament called the FA Cup. It's the the soccer cup, and anybody can enter a team. If we get together a team, we could enter it. Now we won't get to play in the later rounds because we're going to lose pretty quickly, but the professional teams all get buys, but eventually everybody gets it. So in the old days, when they used to play the FA Cup, the colleges would win, Oxford and Cambridge and stuff like that. But this one guy brought down these guys from Scotland to coach his team, because what they used to do was the soccer players would all run up together in a group. And if the ball got stolen from one of them, then another person in the group would take it and carry on. And the Scottish invented this idea of passing the ball spread out, stuff like that. And so the first time they brought it to the English were like, what the hell is that? And so that was the evolution of the game. But it's a good movie, The English Game on Netflix.
Cool.
Speaking of English games, I want to know more about cricket, but aren't there thousands of rules?
No, it's pretty simple.
It's a pretty simple game, yeah.
So you have a little area in the middle of the field. That's not little. It's called the crease. And there are 2 pitchers. They're called bowlers from each team. And they bowl down to the other side, 6 at a time. 6 bowls is called an over. So when you pitch, you can't bend your arm. So your arm has to be straight the whole time. So this is not going to come through clearly, but you walk up and you bring your arm over your head like that and throw it. I played cricket when I was in England. Now, what's funny though, is that, so behind the wicket, behind the batter, there are these 3 stumps called the wicket, and on top of called stumps. And then on top of them, there are 2 wickets. And all that you have to do to get somebody out is to knock the wickets off, but they're not required to swing at the ball, or they can knock the ball aside so that it doesn't hit the wickets. So essentially the batters can last for almost forever.
Mm-hmm.
And, they only swing at the balls that they want. So there's a lot of misdirection, a lot of tricky curve balls, stuff like that. But games can last forever because there's no requirement on having to swing at the ball. So international matches will sometimes last 3 or 5 days. Even when I played in high school, it would last many hours, and they would serve us cucumber sandwiches while we were sitting in the bat house waiting for our turn to bat. It was awesome. But it is kind of a silly game, I will say.
It is. Although I really do like the change that they did with the T20. So they did like how the regular cricket game is unlimited. Really, it just can go on forever. You are limited in the T20 game to 20 overs. And you score as many points during those 20 overs. The games generally last about 2 hours or so, 2 to 3 hours. So it's basically general sports length. So you don't have to invest a week to watch the game go by, because it's just a long game. If the international, they do have some other variations. Like there's the 1 day international. There's the T20.
Right.
Just to try and shorten it up, but like the big cricket events, like the Ashes and stuff like that, have those long ass games.
Well, I mean, I like that part. Right, cricket is baseball done wrong. Well, I mean, baseball is cricket 2.0, really 3.0, because it's another game they have called rounders. But it's the modern evolution. I mean, because it's interesting too, because I think then some people would say that, if you look at Japanese baseball, they've also improved upon our game. I don't know how. Maybe they got rid of the DH, but
smaller stadiums, more scoring,
smaller stadiums, and the no extra innings.
Yeah,
right. Games can end in a tie, which I think is actually probably a pretty good idea. I mean, it's perfect for the Japanese because then nobody loses face, and so they can, everybody's content. But it is it's an interesting change.
Yeah.
Any other obscure sports you'd like to know about, Emily?
How about Aussie rules football?
So I don't know that well.
I love Aussie rules football. That is one of my favorite sports.
I know rugby really well, and I did watch the Sevens. Actually, that was awesome.
Yeah.
At the Olympics, but I don't know. I understand Australian rules football.
So Australian rules football is interesting in that it is really a football game. It's lots of kicking, but it's not kicking along the ground. I mean, you can, but it's kind of a football shaped ball. It's oblong. It's rounded. It's a lot softer than a football, so the ball travels a lot further. But if you're a big fan of the NFL, you're and even college now, you're starting to see the number of Australian kickers in the game, like punters and kickers, are exploding because these guys know that to get on an NFL roster, all you really have to do is kick a football a long ways, and that's they've been training on switching over from Aussie rules to American football, but it really is. So at the end of each end of the ground, and it's played on a cricket ground, so it's a big, long, big circular ground. But at each end, there are 2 sets of goalposts. There's a center set of goalposts that goes up really high, and on each side, there are smaller goalposts. And to get to the scoring plays are you can kick the ball between the 2 big goalposts. That's a goal. It's 5 points. And then kicking the ball between the 2 between the big goalpost and the smaller one, it's a single. So the scoring is, you'll see like a team scores 8 goals, 7 the singles are called behinds, and then their main score.
Do you have to kick it through the post through the air, or
it can go on the ground? It can't be touched by anyone else before it goes through. It can't hit a post and go through. If it hits a post, it becomes a behind. It's just like rugby. If rugby, you kick a ball and it hits a post, it doesn't count.
Right.
So with that, if it hits the goal post and even it goes through the goal, they consider that a behind.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously in rugby, there's only the one thing. So if you kick and it hits the post but bounces through, you still get credit for it.
Yeah. But I mean, this is how they adapted their game to fit the cricket grounds. Like all their big cricket. They do play cricket, but this is their winter sport.
What is the driest continent in the world?
Ben Shapiro's wife.
Antarctica.
See, I also guess Antarctica. Whose wife?
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro's wife. That's funny. She would be the driest incontinent. All right. I don't even know her. I didn't know Ben Shapiro was married. But it's Australia. Australia actually is drier than Antarctica.
Well, I mean,
like, weird.
If you look at Western Australia, and even as you move further east, like most of Western Australia is just a desert.
Yeah.
There's Perth and there's Perth and Fremantle, and then pretty much nothing. The rest of the and it's the biggest state in Australia is just really a whole bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
Even the coast doesn't have a whole lot. They have a few settlements up the coast, but really isn't much to develop there.
Yep. The longest border fence.
Oh, they do that. They do have the longest border fence. It is for an animal. That's what they created.
Oh, you mean like no, I was going to say because they don't have a border. I thought you meant like a Trump border fence.
Oh, we lost him.
She was frozen there for a while.
Yeah, she was.
But I'm sure she's coming back because her computer is fixed.
She let it go.
So the border fence is for animals. Daryl says, "Do you know what it does?" I'm going to guess.
Oh yeah, it's a dingo. Yeah, dingo fence.
So it stops the dingo from stealing babies.
Yeah, well, it keeps
dingo stole me baby.
Stole me baby. Yeah, it keeps it out of the more populated areas.
Yeah, because Australia has all sorts of problems with invasive species because they didn't have
even their local species are bad.
Right, but they have they have this huge rabbit problem now.
Yeah,
because somebody brought rabbits there, and
they actually intentionally brought in a frog to control something. And this is one of the big stories because I was reading this thing about stink bugs, and there have been they're bringing over these hornets to attack these stink bugs here in the United States, and they were talking about how they brought a frog to Australia, and it didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Right. That's they have this contest. You probably read the Mark Twain short story, the jumping frog of Calaveras County.
Yeah.
And my dad actually participated in it when he was a doctoral student in Berkeley. He was experimenting on frogs at the time. Welcome back, Emily.
Thanks. Not sure what happened.
Well, we're talking about jumping frogs.
Yeah, who's experimenting on frogs?
So my dad was experimenting on frogs early on in his career as he was getting his PhD. And so he took one of the frogs from the lab. That they weren't like giving them steroids or anything. They were looking at nerves and stuff like that. The frogs that they worked on were dissected. So this was not like a genetically modified frog or anything. But so he brought one of the frogs down to the jumping frog competition to see it happen. Didn't win. But when I was in high school, I read that people were bringing in these giant carnivorous frogs from Africa that are like 3 feet big. And they were eating the other frogs. So
that's hardcore.
It is. So they had to ban those frogs. There's like a size limit now that they can't take a frog over a certain size.
Jeez.
Yep. Exciting.
All right. So we've done enough lighthearted stuff. Let's talk about our favorite governor, Mario Cuomo. Oh, what a fuck stick.
I don't know where the disconnect is. I mean, it's interesting, Biden has said that he should step down. Yeah. But why there isn't just a standard now that when an accusation like this happens, the person should step down from office and let there at least be an investigation, right? I mean, he's staying in office, but this is such a violation of, first of all, there shouldn't be any confusion as to what happened because we don't necessarily know the extent of everything that happened, but he touched people without their consent.
Yep.
That's enough for me. Okay, that is the beginning. And if we have tolerance for, oh, well, some touching without somebody's consent is okay, then we're just adding to the problem. It has to be, people's bodies have to be completely inviolate. If you don't want to be touched, nobody should touch you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been watching the people on the left this week really just do this kind of weird limbo about Cuomo, and you know, when people are asking them about Cuomo, they're like, well, what about Donald Trump? Donald Trump did, you know, grab him by the pussy and all that crap. And it's like the whole moral equivalency stuff is just,
it's nauseating.
Yeah, it's awful.
Nauseating. And, you know, we have to acknowledge the real truth of what's out there. So, you know, I was just at Freedom Fest. Two of the people on my team are women. And, you know, they had to put up with hands on the back, hands on the shoulder, you know, casual contact that, you know, if they were in a situation that, you know, it was just their personal lives, you know, they, of course, wouldn't put up with that bullshit.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, what do I do? How do I be a good ally in this situation? And I can tell you that, you know, the people that I work with are very strong. They don't need me to do anything. So I have to, you know, make my peace with what they choose to do at that point in time. But I will tell you that, you know, that goes down as a mark in my book. If I see you touching somebody without their consent, I'm going to know that's who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Cuomo, it's funny because has his brother said anything? I haven't heard anything.
I don't think so. And, you know, his brother advised him during the initial.
I agree with Ken's comment.
Release of this.
That the way the best ally you can be is leading by example.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, his brother advised him during the initial release of, you know, these accusations, completely blurring the, you know, journalism versus the versus political. I mean, yes, they're brothers. I would assume that they talk, but these were actually official meetings that he was sitting on. And, you know, if his brother goes down, Chris should go down immediately too.
Well, it's interesting because I'm reading in the New York Post, Chris Cuomo has a lot to say about his brother's sex scandal. Good job, Holly.
Yes.
Supposedly he's being muzzled by top brass at CNN. Network host Brian Stetler said on Sunday.
And it was interesting watching, you know, Brian Stetler report on Chris not saying anything during the first broadcast after after that was released.
Yeah.
And maybe it is CNN brass holding him back, but still, it's not a good look at all.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're holding him back because they don't want him to, you know, embarrass the network by condoning, you know, unwanted touching. And the thing is, like, you know what? Here's the thing. I actually believe Andrew Cuomo that he doesn't think he did anything wrong. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, you know, to him, it's like completely okay because he's a man in power to show affection. And, you know, people are like, oh, why can't I just show a little affection? Affection is for, you know,
your wife or your significant other.
It's for people that you have an intimate relationship with. I don't want to limit it just to the context of, you know, whatever the state defines as a relationship. But and you can be affectionate towards your friends as well. But you know the level of affectionate. Like, you know, you and I, first time we actually, you know, had met in person after we become friends down in Virginia Beach, one dance. It was a fast dance, nothing like that. No hands, no touching, anything like that. Exactly. and when he made me stop the car so you could pee, I turned the car away so the headlights weren't on you. Wow. While you were doing that. So, you know, I didn't want to invade your space.
Well, you know, it happens.
It happens.
But yeah, I mean, what do you think about this, Emily? I mean,
It's indicative of their lack of understanding of the autonomy for other people. That's why they want to be in government in the first place. I'm kind of diving down the rabbit hole of
I'm with you.
voluntarism a little bit more every day. I'm so sick of the cronyism, well, they asked for it kind of mentality because they were voted in. It's bullshit. It's inconsiderate, and I agree 100% with Ken. The only thing you can do is lead by example. We all must be the change that we want to see in the world.
Yeah,
and that means asking before you touch someone.
Yeah,
or stand in their personal space.
And I agree with you 100%. And that's something that actually we can do very easily, is to ask people before we touch them and to say, hey, it's all right if I give you a hug. Now, that's an awkward question for somebody to refuse in the first place, but at least you are giving them the option of doing that. I mean, it's
awkward doesn't really have anything to do with it. You have a personal, you have the responsibility of maintaining your boundaries. And
I'm saying I don't want somebody to have to feel like they have to be a bad guy by saying, no, it's not okay for me to give you a hug. I shouldn't ask them if it's not an appropriate situation. But but let's just say that I'm, emotionally blind and can't understand that, no, this person who I just met doesn't want me to give them a hug. And so in that case, but you give somebody the option of, oh, I've got a cold or something like that, so they can have a more graceful exit than no, creepo.
No, I think we should be okay with saying, no, you creep.
Well, I mean, there is that famous example. Do you guys know the one I'm talking about? With Jerry Seinfeld?
No.
I'm going to play it for you, if you'll let me. Only 30 seconds.
Is it going to get the show kicked off?
It will not get the show kicked off. Share screen. Share audio. Chrome tab. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this.
You just plug it in because it's hard to sleep when you're tired. People are tired.
Gosh, I love you so much.
Oh, thanks.
Can I give you a hug?
No, thanks.
Please?
No, thanks.
A little one.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Oh.
That was a nice moment. I don't know who that was.
Yeah, it was Kesha.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best.
See, simple.
Yeah.
That's how you say no. When somebody says, I want to give you a hug, no, thanks. And that's leading by example, I think.
It is.
And she needs to learn that if someone says no, that she doesn't continue to press the issue.
Right.
No means no, Kesha.
Yeah, that you can't continue to press the issue if somebody says no. Nobody can tell me that looking at that picture of Cuomo with that young lady at the wedding that was released, where he's got both of them on her, and the look on her face can tell me that was a consent-based moment.
But they can tell you, get over it. I mean, they do that with Biden all the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's fine. She's fine.
Yeah, he didn't. Well, no, it's all about consent. If you're doing it without consent, then you're in the wrong.
I don't think people really understand consent, and I think that's something that the people in the liberty movement really need to focus more on.
There it is.
Andy. Yeah, it's terrible.
No, look at that look in her face.
Well, and she talked about the fact that she had never met him before. He came up to her, grabbed her, and said, "Can I kiss you?" Yeah. And she's rightfully like, "No, you freak."
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I agree that consent. I think a lot of people don't think about consent. I confess, I didn't understand it well in my 20s. At one point in time, there was a colleague of mine that I worked with, who we were at a work training, and somebody came up and touched her. I don't even recall the exact context of it, but she's like, "Can you ask me before you touch me, please?" Said it very politely, very matter of factly, and the other person said, "Sure. Do you mind if I?" And they said, "Yeah, that's fine." But it was like an earth-shattering revelation for me of, yeah, we should always ask before we touch somebody else. I mean, there are times when that there is there is implied consent. That's up to people to give those signals. I would argue that in cases like that, I try to make it clear to the person that I'm dealing with that yes, I consent. You don't have to ask.
Right.
That sort of thing. But
may I dive down a
please,
tangent
Emily.
to that? So, something my personal experience with the opposite end of that with the signals. So I grew up abused by my father, and like we even had to have a safe word of please don't, because he didn't stop at no or don't or quit. We had to say please don't for him to know that we're serious. And he pretty well trained us that fighting won't make him stop. And so he beat the whole fight or flight sense out of me, and I freeze now. That's my response. And when in 2016, when I was tricked into being in a bad situation with my soon-to-be rapist, and he demanded of me something, my only response was to pull away from him physically. But because that was my only response, not only at the time did I think that I wasn't raped because I didn't say no, but the police officers didn't think I was raped. Well, then you must have wanted it. And so this is something, the implied consent goes both ways, where you can imply non-consent.
Right.
And it's something that, like, for anyone else who has ever been in that situation where they didn't say no because they were too scared and all they could do was pull away, any normal, healthy person in that situation should have seen, like, oh, wait, this woman is leaning away from me. This woman doesn't want me to touch her, like, and said, like, oh, hey, is this okay? Like, any normal, healthy person would have done that. So
I agree with you.
Yes, there is such a thing as implied consent, but also implied not.
I agree with you 100%. I feel very privileged that you would share that story with us. And so thank you for sharing that, because I think it's an important thing for a lot of people to hear. You're 100% right. And this is why it's good to have conversations like this. I'm going to be better in the future at when I see, implied non-consent, pointing it out to other people who might not be getting it. Look, this is what this means. Because, that's a critical thing about it is, like I was, extremely nerdy, awkward socially, stuff like that. I wasn't getting a lot of the implied consent messages. And, I at one point in time, a girlfriend said to me, if a girl does this, she's interested in you. That doesn't happen automatically. Girls don't come over and sit on your lap just to be friends. That means something else. You don't have to be awkward if I sit on your lap about putting your arms around me, those sort of things. But I needed that because at that point in time, I couldn't understand the consent. But the other thing about it should be that, if somebody walks away, they don't want to be chased.
Yeah.
At least I don't think so.
Well, psychos do. But that's a personal responsibility. You have to ask for what you want, or in some way communicate what you want, because there is a problem when people aren't used to hearing no,
Especially
which is why we need to talk about it more.
Especially politicians who have yes people blowing smoke up their ass every day, telling them how wonderful they are and that their shit doesn't stink, and it's especially that type of person. It's not just politicians, powerful people from look at Weinstein and all these guys in Hollywood that have been having issues over consent.
Right. And it's, I think it's something that, if we're going to tie it around to the libertarian side of things, is that, there's going to be some libertarians out there, unfortunately nobody on these threads, who are going to say, well, it's unless they tell me no, it's consent. That's not right. It's just not right. And we have to fight against that because it has to be understood that, right? It's an affirmative yes. That's the only thing that can ever actually mean consent. Now, people might find some other ways, but there'll be no doubt in your mind. There's no ambiguity when somebody is giving you consent.
Enthusiastic.
Exactly.
Response. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And then, there's always some libertarians who defend, relationships between unequals at work, saying, well, they're both getting what they want to out of it. And although I would argue that there is some consent there, I believe that, it has to be consent between, this is, I guess I'm awkward at this, but I believe that it has to be consent between equals.
Yeah.
And there's no equal relationship. Go ahead.
I have a problem with the consent between equals, not in the sense that I agree consent between equals, except how are we defining equal? Because, just because someone's a supervisor doesn't mean that as a person they're any different.
Except that in my mind, so I will tell this part of my story that I don't normally tell, but I did actually have a relationship with the woman who was my supervisor. And, it was more than consensual. In many ways, I initiated it. And at no point in time did I think, oh, I'm going to get fired if this doesn't work out. I didn't even care about it. But for a lot of people, there is that fear, potential fear of, what are the consequences if this relationship doesn't work out? How awkward is it going to be for me? And, should people think about that stuff beforehand? Yes, they should, but it happens both ways. Both the, superior and non-superior, the manager and employee both have to be conscious about that. I don't think that, work relationships are inherently wrong, but I will tell you that, having I'm currently an executive director, and when I was executive director of the Libertarian Party, there were very crystal clear, maybe crystal clear isn't the best to say it, very clearly delineated boundaries that we don't have relationships like this. I am your manager. As much as I would like to talk to you about some of these things, it's not appropriate for me to do so. Tyler was always, no, I'm just kidding. But that it's a critical thing. There's no, in my opinion, that is my personal code. I'm not going to say that I would make it a law, but it's something that people should.
Yeah, I think this is definitely part of the conversation that we should have. And what you describe is absolutely something that someone should consider, but it may not mean anything to them. I prioritize relationships over jobs.
Right.
Yeah. And
so for me, that doesn't matter.
there definitely is a different power dynamic that you have to consider, and it's really in how you establish the relationship. Whether you're going in as you know if the boss comes to you and says, "Hey, it would be really great if you wore a shorter skirt to work," and do you really
Right,
want
that's
that raise? You might have to do some, scratch my back, that type of stuff. Then yeah, we're in bad areas. We're in the bad zone. If you guys hit it off at work and are compatible, and that's not a power dynamic issue.
Right.
It's the quid pro quo of do this for me and I'll do this for you. I think kind of gets into that bad area.
And I think that's
Daryl.
where a lot of the problems come in, is where a blanket one size fits all rule needs to be made for a company. That's why we need to have more of these conversations, because the one size fits all invariably doesn't fit all.
Right. And that's, Daryl's point is outstanding.
Yeah.
I think it's something like 28 states where,
I know Hawaii and Alaska both do.
there is, this is something that the liberty movement could lead on. It's close to our core principles of self-ownership.
Yep.
And if you believe in self-ownership, you ought to be advocating for everybody to have complete bodily autonomy. And so I don't know why the libertarians aren't seen as the ultimate champions of this. We could talk about
Maybe
it
we
more.
should be louder about it. Yeah.
I
Right.
agree. Hashtag consent culture.
So
Yeah.
Dan, you want to come on next week and do consent culture as the topic?
On to your other show?
Yeah.
What day? What day is your show?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Is that
Pay for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Yeah, the 15th.
Let me just check. I think I'm still here. I have a crazy ass August, but it doesn't
me
get
too.
crazy until later. This is me. This is my calendar. Well, so first of all, if we're going to do consent culture, we got to have women on as well.
All right.
If you don't have a choice, there's an organization People for Liberty's been partnering with recently called the Ladies of Liberty.
Okay.
And I could certainly ask them. They have a speakers bureau and see if they would recommend somebody.
And Emily, you have a compelling story as well.
You do.
I would like to share it.
All right.
Yep.
So that's it. So I'll try
Tell me your
to
story.
wait. Today's the 8th.
Yep.
15th, I'm clear.
All right.
20th, I'm going to Chicago.
What are you doing in Chicago?
I am going to see the Bears and Bills preseason game.
Ooh.
It's like I'm flying in, going to the game, and flying home. But it is it's awesome because my wife is from Chicago. She's a fan of all things Chicago always, and so we've always caught a Bears game. In this case, we have an opportunity to go. Hopefully, it won't be. They still have audiences at that point in time. How bad is it right now in Illinois, Emily?
How bad is what?
COVID.
Oh, well, people still largely aren't wearing masks here in central Illinois, but Lowe's, as a corporate entity, told all the employees that they have to wear them, even though the customers don't. It's ridiculous.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully Chicago will still be open when we get there at Soldier Field to still have people. We are we're actually going to be in a box, which I'm pretty excited about as well.
Nice.
And it's the return of Mitchell Trubisky because he's the backup quarterback for Buffalo now. So we'll get to see Mitchell Trubisky return to Soldier Field. And because it's, the third week, Justin Fields should play most of the game for the Bears. So should be.
I would love to see a game in Buffalo. Bills Mafia, the tailgates. The tailgates are the best in the league.
I mean, it's not that far of a drive.
Table smashing and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Was it 6 hours for you?
About 6 to 8 hours somewhere in that area.
All right. Maybe we do that one day.
Yeah.
Get some tickets. I got the truck. We'll drive up there. and tailgate.
There you go.
And it should be like, I'm not going to wear a Patriots jersey, but
Don't do that. You end up in Erie in a lake effect. So.
I think Buffalo's going to be pretty good this year. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
they
I'm
are.
going to Chicago, then I'm coming back, then heading out to Denver for the LP's 50th birthday party,
There.
which will be exciting, and then heading back. But that's like, a total of 10 days, essentially out of the house, because I got to get to Denver early. I am staying with my brother. Which is
I'm seeing my brother in Denver as well.
always fun. Are you going to bring him to the party?
Can't.
Gotcha. I will see if I can drag my brother in. I think he would like it.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, I just thought of a reason why he won't go. But it's intriguing. Let's see. Although I could look into that a little bit. All right, making a note to myself. But then I'm done for, like, I don't have to travel again for quite a while, which is good because I'm like done with travel. In fact, I think that my next travel is going to the Illinois convention out of Decatur, which is in October, right?
It's not in Decatur, is it?
There's only two places in Illinois, Chicago and Decatur. It's
No.
it's like one town east of Decatur, Bradleyville or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yep.
I
LP.
volunteered and no one ever contacted me, so whatever.
Follow up again. They need volunteers now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because why is this not working for me? I want to look it up and see when it is. Because I want to get out there again. So now, I go for more than just the convention. I go for, hopefully to meet with a few people, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I want to get out there a little early. Maybe rent a car and drive around a little bit. Bradley, it's in Bradley, Illinois. Do you know where that is?
No.
All right, I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
Bradley, Illinois is it's closer to Bloomington than it is to Decatur. It's
Oh,
halfway.
okay, well, that's still not too far.
It's halfway in between Bloomington and Chicago.
Okay.
So it's a little far for you, but you should still go.
Yeah, I'm still going.
Good.
There you go.
It's going to be exciting. They
Let's stay on that
have
one.
they have Justin for a speaker and Spike, so that'd be good.
Yeah. What are the dates on that?
October 8th and October 9th. October 8th is just, the party. Like, that's the good part. And then the 9th is the convention. Not a lot of stuff. It's interesting, actually. The business meeting is only really in the afternoon from 1:30 to 5:30. But should be a good time. I should probably book my room now, too. Let's see. I wonder if Joe's going. I'm sure she will. Joe likes to get back to Illinois. And then maybe we can table. See, don't you like it when I think out loud on your show, Dave?
Yeah. Sure.
Vendors and sponsors page.
Next week, it'll just be Dan writing in his journal.
Exactly.
Springfield, East St. Louis, and Shelbyville. Don't go to East St. Louis. I'm just going to say that right now.
Wait, what is he talking about?
Other
The
towns.
other towns in Illinois.
So yeah, what would you do for Freddie Mac and
Shelbyville is really funny. This isn't more a Springfield idea. This is more of a Shelbyville idea. You just hang on a moment. You tell us your idea and we'll vote for it. That's from the monorail episode. Monorail. Okay.
So I'm thinking cat toys, like a dreidel, like a cat toy, because they'll go nuts with that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll try and knock it over. They'll chase after it.
Yes.
Jewish space lasers that they can chase after. The little red dot.
Those feeders that you put the food in, the treat in, and it's a plastic ball and it rolls around, and they have to get it to roll the right way for the cat food to come out. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What else? What do my cats like? My cats are weird. Sylvester is like totally into lids. Like he thinks there's something under the lid, and so if there's a lid on the ground, he'll flip it, pick it up, flip it over, and he's like, nothing there. Oh, but maybe now there's something under it. Pick it up and flip it over again. Exactly. What else do they really like? I mean, the thing about it is, I think every cat owner would agree on this too, that the toys that you buy will never be as popular as a cardboard box.
My sister had a cat that its favorite toy was when she was smoking was a rolled up pack of cigarettes. That cellophane sound. Loved it.
Yep.
You can buy the most expensive Jackson Galaxy toy out there, and they'll just look at it like, "The fuck is this shit?" But you throw all of cellophane at them, they're just like, "Shit."
I made a
Or
giant. Go ahead, Emily.
the ring on the milk cartons.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, the plastic ring.
That and little twist ties from bread bags.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've seen the Thug Kitty, where the cat is pushing things off of the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck this. Fuck that. Fuck this thing in particular.
Well, so yeah, there's one that I'm fond of where it's a Persian, and he's like pushes a pen off the table, and then he pushes I don't know, a piece of paper or something, and then there's a shot glass there, and he starts pushing it towards the end, and the person who's filming is like, "No, kitty, no."
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, close up on the cat, and then the Dr. Dre music starts playing in the background. He pushes up, doom, doom, doom. It's awesome. So what is their cat mitzvah, Daryl? Are they actually, coming of age?
Are they going to be paying bills now? They're going to go to work.
Yeah.
My friend Holly, who I had on the show a few months ago, talking about the Middle East, she just had her B'nai Mitzvah. I probably butchered that, but she, converted to Judaism as an adult, and she just had her mitzvah. And I said, congratulations on, your coming of age, even though you're still delightfully child-sized because she's really short.
Yeah.
And I said, I have some bills for you to pay if you're ready, and I got a lawn for you to mow. Now
nice. My mom had a bat mitzvah
birthday. All right.
At 43 or something. Now, I'm going to say that's 13 in cat years, which is a little complicated because they say cat years work logarithmically. That cats stop aging as fast the older they get.
Yeah.
So like a cat. I mean, the average life of an outdoor cat is 3 years. Cats in the wild are supposed to, mature, reproduce, and then get eaten by something else very quickly. So I'm wondering which scale, but I'm going to assume by 13th birthday, Daryl, that you're going with the dog year scale of 7 years. And you know what? Cats always like food.
Yep.
Treats. So, salmon, tuna fish, stuff like that. One of my favorite things to do. So I like to make a lot. I like tuna fish salad because you could really experiment with a lot of stuff in it. But the best thing I like about it is you can drain the water and then you give it to the kitties. They're like, yeah. Kitty loves the fishes.
Yep, that works. Did anybody see my pictures of Sophie today?
I did not.
With the Bumblebee outfit.
Yes.
Why did you torture her like that?
Did you see the look on her face?
Yes.
I hate fire. All right, let me see if I can.
Cats have consent too, Dave.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I I do love that PETA ad where like it has all the animals and you draw the line.
Right.
I mean, exactly.
There's that other meme out there. I guess PETA put on stickers on the steaks saying my name was Chloe or something like that. Would you still eat me now? And the person writes hell yes, I would. I'd actually look for the ones like the Coke bottles with my name on it. Yeah, eat Dave.
There are in the South many fine barbecue recipes that involve Coca-Cola. So, if I thought that it had been marinated in Coke or Dr. Pepper, which is also popular. There's, I don't know if you've read Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Yep, that's a good picture.
That hate fire.
So,
It's like I'm going to shit on your pillow.
Restaurant at the End of the Universe, they get there and Zaphod and Arthur and Trillian and Ford is seated at this table, and a cow comes up and says, I'll be your main course this evening. Let me tell you a little bit. He's like, I've been exercising, so my rump is particularly tender right now. And of course, Ford is Arthur's horrified. He's like, I'm not going to eat something that I've just spoken to. And the cow says, oh, don't worry. When I kill myself, it's going to be very humane.
Oh, yeah, that's strange. I don't know if I could do that. I mean, but I've gone to a restaurant and picked my lobster. So,
Yeah.
I'm not.
They're just bugs.
People try and say that like lobsters are just insects. Lobsters and crabs are just insects, and that doesn't make me want to eat them less, but it kind of piques my curiosity about bugs, but not enough. Like when they were talking about cicadas and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to eat chocolate cicadas. That just doesn't sound good.
No, I agree with that.
No.
All right, well, I think we've hit the hour and a half mark.
We have. I want to push my one thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Ricky Dale Harrington.
Exactly right. And I got to find the link.
MSNBC. So MSNBC has said that this Chris Guy is the first black candidate for governor in however many years. Although Ricky Dale Harrington has been running for governor for several months now.
Well, not to mention the fact that Ricky. Here, let me share my screen because it has all the deets on there. Ricky Dale Harrington, first of all, got 400,000 votes in 2020 running against Tom Cotton. Right. Yeah. So we're not talking about a guy that nobody in Illinois has ever heard of beforehand. 400,000, or nobody in Arkansas had ever heard of beforehand. It's all those letters with the silent S's, states with silent S's at the end. Not only nobody in Arkansas has ever heard of him, but they just like completely ignored him. So we put up there a couple things. The big one, I would say, people could tweet at the Sunday Show and ask them to correct their mistake. As usually you can see I put a tweet out there, and People for Liberty shared a post about it. Yeah, with a lot of information in there about something we can do. And so here's the interesting thing about this is that 80,000 people have seen this. It's been shared 588 times. So if 10% of those people are actually acting on this, if they're tweeting, if they're emailing Jonathan Capehart, whatever his name is, we're going to have an impact. They will get, we can generate an interview with Ricky Dale Harrington, right? It might only be 5 minutes, but they'll say, hey, we did this thing. And so we wanted to talk with this other guy who's running. Yeah. So everybody, please find it. All the information's at this People for Liberty post. Find it. And all the information there, how to call MSNBC, how to tweet to them, stuff like that. And we can get Ricky Dale Harrington on MSNBC, which would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Earn media.
All right. Thank you. Let me stop sharing that. It's funny. I'm seeing my mouse move over there, and I'm like, "What's going on?"
so confused.
All right, it's fixed.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone who watched tonight. So next week we're going to be doing consent culture on the main show on LPTV. So join us, Dan, Emily, whoever else we can find to get on the panel, and we'll talk consent culture and bring that issue to light for the greater LPTV audience. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we will see everyone. But next week, yeah. All right, take care, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Bye.